The most famous of all the Psalms has to be Psalm 23, right? And it could even be the most widely known passage of the whole Bible. It's not long, just 6 verses, but its impact over thousands of years has been deep and wide. And it may be read at many funerals for good reason, yet this psalm is even more appropriate for living than it is for dying. Psalm 23 is a pretty straightforward poem, with one exception, small exception. In verse 4, there is a little bit of variety of how we would translate it. We could say the valley of the shadow of death, or we could give it a more ominous death valley, or we could probably more accurately call it the darkest valley. When we hear or we read the 23rd Psalm, we're not meant to only think of dying and grieving. It also applies to all those moments, all those seasons where life gets dark and difficult. The valley represents any kind of trouble that we may have directly because of human sin and selfishness, or indirectly because we live in a fallen world. And if we have Psalm 23 written on our hearts, then it really comes in handy, and especially when life takes us down into those dark valleys. Think about this for a moment, or talk about it even. What kind of terrain would you say you're going through currently? Are you in one of those dark valleys of difficulty right now? Or do you get to say you're enjoying some bright mountaintop views? Maybe you're out on the ocean sailing to a new adventure, or maybe you're driving down the highway in the desert. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just kind of dry. Or maybe you get to say you're in some vibrant fields of personal growth right now. Or maybe you're lost in a wild jungle. Have fun with whatever terrain you want to pick, but where would you say you're at currently? Here's another question to consider. And you can go metaphorical on this, or you can make it just physical reality. What has been the darkest valley that you have ever been in? Psalm 23, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength. He guides me along right paths, bringing honor to his name. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me. You prepare a feast for me in the presence of my enemies. You honor me by anointing my head with oil. My cup overflows with blessings. Surely your goodness and unfailing love will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever. Sometimes this is even called the shepherd's psalm because the first 2/3 of it are very heavy with shepherding imagery. And if we actually understand shepherding to be a way that the Near Eastern ancients referred to kings, all 6 verses are about the ultimate shepherd king. Now, shepherding is an old agricultural image with which most of us are pretty unacquainted. I'm a country boy at heart still, I would say, and I have farming in my bloodlines, but I've only been around sheep a few times at some fairs. And we may not be fond of playing the role of sheep in this passage. It's not necessarily a compliment. Still, shepherding is a good way to describe what we need most as human beings. We are spiritual beings. You and I have been knit together with an eternal soul at our core. How reassuring is it for this to be our spiritual reality, that we have a shepherd who provides for and protects us? How satisfying is it for this to be our experience, that we have a shepherd who knows us and leads us? A shepherd takes care of the needs of each of the sheep in his flock, as long as they're staying with the flock and the shepherd and not wandering off somewhere else on their own. A shepherd knows better than the sheep do of what they truly need. If it was up to the sheep, it'd be more like, "Bah, those hills look greener over there. Can we go there instead?" Well, no, you don't want to go over there, sheep. Remember, that may look nice over there, but there's a lot more wolves over there. I've got you covered here. You're in good shape right where I've got you. Also, a shepherd goes into and through the dark and scary places right alongside his sheep. God is the most qualified to be a shepherd. One title we have for Jesus is the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd provides everything that we really need. With Jesus Christ, we have continual spiritual renewal. There is rest and peace and strength and guidance. The Good Shepherd has an individual relationship with each of his sheep. Every sheep belongs to the whole flock, yet is known as a unique personality to the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd offers grace and forgiveness and hope. When we try to wander off on our own ways, the Good Shepherd finds us and restores us. In the care of the Good Shepherd King, we are rescued, and then we are led to a feast where we get to feel like the guests of honor. And in the course of the psalm, the feast is what happens after getting through those darkest valleys. And those darkest valleys, when we're talking about the Good Shepherd, those darkest valleys are not when the Good Shepherd has been the farthest. That is when the Good Shepherd has been the closest. So we need shepherding, and Jesus is the Good Shepherd. All that remains then is for us to take it personally. Do you notice when you read this psalm, the entire thing is personal? There is not a verse that goes by, not even a half verse almost, without both a reference to me and the first person singular, I or me or my, and the Lord or he or you. None of it works though. No line of the satisfaction and the safety and the confidence and the glory is true if the opening line is not true. If the Lord is my shepherd, then there are green pastures and quiet waters and feasts for me to enjoy. If the Lord is my shepherd, then courage and comfort are mine to feel even in the darkest valleys. If the Lord is my shepherd, then beauty and love will chase me every day of my life. I realize you know this psalm. My question today, I guess, is, do we own this psalm? Have you made these words your words? Are you saying in the deepest part of who you are, the Lord is my shepherd? Does your life and what you do and how you live say, the Lord is my shepherd? Are you crying out when your path goes down into some dark places, the Lord is my shepherd? Here is another question you may want to pause to consider. Where has your mind and spirit been at on this scale lately? There is no shepherd. God is a shepherd. Jesus is my good shepherd. Jesus Christ is the greatest source of strength and security, and that's true for forever and for right now. So our number one priority for this year and in a year, for this day and every day, is to stay with the Good Shepherd, to cozy up to him and stay close. I for sure am not perfect. I do not have it all figured out. My life is not always smooth sailing, but this one thing has always made things better. That we need to let Jesus be the leader of our lives. Receive his streams of grace and truth in his word. Surrender to his rod and staff in prayer. Enjoy the feast of his goodness while worshiping with the rest of the flock. And walk his right paths, knowing that they will still lead us through the darkest valleys, but we will not be without his presence. So the most important question for any of us is, what do I need to be doing to make sure I'm staying close with the Good Shepherd? Go ahead as this video wraps up and commit that answer to a piece of paper or to a conversation. And I'll see you next week. May his presence give you peace and power for living.